Hey, I'm Will Gulling. I'm a sports and performance nutritionist, and today we're talking about fasted training and its effects on your body, performance, your gains. Are you getting everything you think you are and getting other things you didn't think you are? Today's papers are a whole collection of papers that I've read, been using for a long time now. It's from modern research by Morton and Wallis and Marquet et al., looking over the research at fasted training and is it something you should be doing. Now let's approach this first. When you do fasted training, you do use more fat as a source of energy because obviously you don't have as much glycogen or glucose, so you will utilize more fat. Now, if you're trying to lose body fat, this doesn't matter too much. Fasted training will not make the difference. If you think about it, if you had two completely matched days, you had both days, you ate the same amount of food, you burnt the same amount of calories, everything's identical, okay? But one of them was fasted, one of them wasn't fasted. Now, you may burn more fat within the session in the fasted trial to the fed one, but at the end of the day, after 24 hours, if you have burnt the same amount of calories and you've eaten the same amount of calories, and let's say your calorie deficit is in both days is 500 calories. You cannot physiologically lose more fat in one than the other because the amount of calories gone is the same. Okay, so if we make it like bricks, if you took 10 bricks from one wall and 10 bricks from another wall, you still take away 10 bricks in both days. All right, it's exactly the same. So if you're doing fasted training and you're doing it to drop body fat, you don't need to be. So boom, myth, gone. It does have many benefits, like improving insulin sensitivity, which will reduce your chances of diabetes and have positive health effects. It also does improve what you call fat adaptation. You will burn more fat at lower heart rates, which will improve your efficiency and will potentially preserve glycogen. We also have something else called the train low paradigm, coined by Close and Morton, I believe, and possibly Burke et al. This is looking at the fact that when we do fasted training and we finish that session, carbohydrate fasted this is, by the way, it's all carbohydrate fasted. You can have protein. When we do fasted training or we finish that session in a low glycogen depleted state, there is an increase in activity between certain enzymes and cells within the body, which really upregulate or increase that activity to create more aerobic cells. This process is called mitochondrial biogenesis. But ultimately, it just means you're creating more aerobic cells. So in turn, theoretically, you're getting fitter quicker. There have been no long-term studies on this, no studies that have gone for a year or anything like this. It is only a hypothesis or a theory where we've seen increased activity, finishing depleting exercise, and there's an increased response in these cells to create more aerobic cells. So you can then take that information and potentially say, we should be building more cells, in turn we should get fitter, which is win, and that's awesome. Now you may be thinking, oh, I should do fasted training all the fucking time. No. Let's think about what you're training for. If you as an individual are training for a race, a sportive, an event, etc. like this, and you're going to be eating carbohydrate on it, then shouldn't you ride with some carbohydrate as well? The answer is yes. If we do fasted training, we improve our ability to burn fat. That's because we produce more enzymes to break down fat during exercise. So your enzymes go up and we can break down more fat. Now, at the same time, our carbohydrate enzymes start to come down because we're not using them as much. So if you only did fasted training, you'd get really good at using fat, but really shit at using carbohydrate. So if you start taking on carbohydrate, you're going to be less efficient at it. You're going to be less efficient at using your stored carbohydrate, that glycogen, which means that when you come to your event, when you come to your race day or whatever you're doing, you're going to be a lot worse off. You're going to be poorer. You're probably going to struggle to eat it all as well because you haven't practiced with it. It's going to be pretty tough. So it's about making a mix of having fasted training, fed training, and getting them in there. You need to fuel for the work required. And this is a big thing that I talk about with all my clients and athletes. And it's about feeding for specific sessions that are hard. If it's got tempo efforts, if it's a big hard session with lots of efforts, there's lots of climbs, there is just work to be done, then we're feeding for that session. 1 hour turbo sessions are the same thing, or 1 hour hard intense runs. But if we've got a low, easy, steady state bike ride, 2, 3, 4 hours, work your way up there, or the same for a run, 1 hour, hour and a half, 2 hour run, steady state, we could do that fasted. We can do that restricted, and you'll get a bit more out of it. And that works because we don't need to perform efforts. The whole point of performing efforts is to complete them and do them all as well as you can. If you are doing them fasted, the likelihood that isn't going to happen. Guys, there is something I forgot last time, which is talking about protein and its role of importance in fasted training. Now, there's 2 real reasons why we want to do this. One is to avoid protein breakdown, and the other is to improve recovery. We have something called a net protein balance, and this describes it really well. Here we have positive and we have negative. And you can see if we went for our fasted ride, we stay negative until we eat protein of sufficient quantity. It comes up into positive, and that's where we have that muscle recovery, cell recovery, muscle growth, adaptation to the exercise that we're wanting, and also preservation of lean muscle mass, especially in a calorie deficit. Now, we don't want this breakdown, especially when you're exercising, or to impair whole day recovery, because protein is best or most optimal every 3 to 4 hours. So about 4 meals a day, typically it works out to be. But if we have protein, no carbs, so it could just be eggs, it could be some fat-free yogurt, it could just be a protein shake in the morning. Before you go out, it's going to bring you into that positive balance and hold you there through that ride. So that set you up for what you need to be doing. You understand that there is a reason to be doing fasted training. It's not for fat oxidation. It's not to burn, help you lose weight or lose body fat. It's actually going to help with your training and mix in there. Now, there are some things you need to take note of. Fasted training should not be done if you're a little bit unwell, or if you've had a poor night's sleep, or if your training volume is very, very high at the moment, because the cortisol response rate, the stress hormone response to fasted training, is a lot greater. So if you're feeling under the weather, you've had a really bad night's sleep, you're in a particularly heavy block, fasted training may compromise your immunity and then make you get unwell or cause you to start to get a bit of overtraining. Okay, so it's important to make sure that you know when to pick and choose it. So to round it all up, we know when we should be doing fasted training, when we shouldn't be, what the benefits are about fat oxidation and fat adaptation, and then combining it with fed and fasted rides. What I do with my athletes is every week, in line with their training plan that they usually have on Training Peaks, is I periodize and plan their whole week based upon calories, both for training and their body composition goal, and then also giving them aims and targets for each training session. And that's the best way you can look at it. Look at where you need more calories and less calories, and look at where you need to be getting the most out of each session, which need to be fed, which can be fasted, and then you'll get more out of your training. If you're not sure about that, you can obviously drop me a message, head over to my Instagram or my website, which is linked down below. I hope you really enjoyed today's video. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know how you're getting on with your own training in lockdown. Maybe try some fasted rides. If you did, how you got on. And I hope you tune in again soon. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.